up, YouTube? Listen, family, we back at it, man. I want to teach you guys and show you guys how to invest before the Fed rate cut. Okay, listen, we about to have a huge opportunity coming up this week. And if you're around here with Coach, I want you guys to be ready. Okay, so listen, as always, I got a jam-packed video, so please keep it locked. Please make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure this video get at least 1,000 likes, and let's go ahead and dive into it. Today, class is in session. Everybody say, pay yourself first. Matter of fact, from this day forward, every Monday, unless something comes up, we are going to do what Coach do. I want to teach y'all my whole process of how I invest and build wealth. Okay, we leave that part out too much. Yes, I get busy trading, but we leave the investing part out way too much. When we make the type of money we make as a family, this is what we do. Okay, it's a few stock. Today, I want you to at least do one. Okay, I want you to pay yourself. Okay, remember, I don't want you relying on no job. Does that make sense? So I want you to learn to pay yourself first. I pay myself every Monday and Friday, but y'all about to start copying me. Okay, emulate this. Okay, I want you to do everything Coach do. If you don't pick these, do the same thing with the ones you want to choose, but I'm also picking ones for you that I know that's going to go and take off. All right, so look, man, we inside of the moo, and we're going to do the 100K challenge out of here. We're going to paper trade in here. I'm going to teach you. Matter of fact, I'm going to change your life. All right, but listen, let's get to it real quick. All right, go here. I always got to get my crypto in. All right, so look, this is BMNR. I told you this was $30. It's going to $60. From 60, it's going to $100, okay? Ethereum and Bitcoin, respectively, are going to go to 15,000, and Bitcoin is going to go to 150,000, 200K, and 300K. Mark these numbers down so that you guys know the opportunity before you. But I want you to do this. Let's look at this. We're going to go to trade, okay? Now, do you guys see in the middle, okay? You got regular trading hours, limit, go to price, okay? Every Monday, we going to at least start buying $5, okay? Can we shake that? Can we get our life right with at least $5, okay? And so I want to get you guys in the habit of making sure that you are paying yourself first. All right, so let's go. Let's see if we can do this. We gonna confirm this. Boom. All right, boom. Confirm. All right. They said the price deviated too much. Okay, let's go back and see. We'll hit trade. Make sure your price can do that. All right. I'm just gonna do one contract right here. All right. I mean one share right here. All right. But listen, if your platform allows it, you can do a fractional share, which is $5. I don't want you feeling like you gotta do too much. Okay. Now watch this. Boom. We're gonna see if this one go through. Order submitted. Okay, that's good money. All right. Now look. Next, pay yourself first. Everybody say pay yourself first in the comments for me. A play that's going to go crazy is Nvidia. I want you guys to do the same thing. Watch this. Hit trade. We're going to go here. We want to get at least one contract. Okay, let me see. They had a number in here before this. I want to see if they allow what number that they allow. I'm just playing around with this real quick, guys, and just seeing what do they allow to happen. Let's see. Let's see. Coach just playing around with this to see. Order submitted. Okay. So that was $5. Okay. Do you have $5? Yes or no? Let's do one more for the roll. Okay. Palantir. This play gonna go to $200. We got this at $20. I want to help you change it. Like this play gonna go to 220 to be specific, but I want you in it from here to 200. Again, pay yourself first, okay? So let's see, a minimum. 001. Let's see if we can get this down. Let's see where that's at. Look at the where it say amount at, so you guys can see how much coach is paying. Okay, look at the very bottom. That's
I don't know
under
about
quantity, so
Palantir
you
right
guys can
now.
see this. Okay, do you have $5? Let me know.
It
Boom.
already
All
sort
right.
of
So
popped up, but
you paid yourself first.
after
Too
earnings,
oftentimes we
definitely interesting.
overcomplicate this game. Now listen, the whole goal for me and you is to show you it don't take all that. If you know you have more than $5, then you can pick them same three plays. All three will change your life. Okay, I'm not worried about that. Coach, do this. What I'm worried about is you doing this. So when I give you the plays, whether free on YouTube or if you part of the money team or Discord, when you make the money, you put them here. Okay, that's an ETF and two growth stocks. One crypto ETF and two growth stocks, okay? Individual stocks. All right. That's how I want you guys putting it down, okay? Now listen, we got the Fed this week. The cut is coming, okay? Listen to this. We are going to get volatility due to that. I want you guys to embrace it, be ready. I'm always coming to the game like this. I want y'all to cross your arms, say, what we doing? That's all you gotta wake up and say, what we doing? Soon as he make the cut, the volatility gonna come. The market gonna go up and down. Your sole purpose, your sole job, get on the right side of whatever side of the trade you choose to trade. Let me know if that's understood, okay? That's how I want you guys putting it down, man. So when this happens, I don't care what play you are playing, okay? You can be in APLD, you can be in Irene, you can be in Hood, you can be in Palantir. It's going all of it's gonna go up and down. If you are okay with buying puts, coach gonna do both. I already know how they come. I don't seen 100 rate cuts, so I already know it's gonna shoot up at first, then it's gonna crash down, then it's gonna get down, then it's gonna pop back up. I'm messing with at least two of the moves. I ain't trying to catch everything, but I'm at least playing two of the moves. You do what fits you, okay? It's totally fine because you're the CEO. So if you like calls, they gonna bring it down. You say, yep, coach told me this was gonna happen. I'm already prepared. Okay, this is gonna happen Wednesday, okay? And then boom, you just buy your call and you take off with it for me, okay? If it shoot right up and you know, like, dang, I don't want to chase. I don't want you chasing. So then you just buy a put, knowing that it's going to come back down, okay? Write this down. This is the next word. We are range bound. Range bound means they're going to purposely keep us within a range. No stock ain't about to go super, super crazy. They're going to all stay within a $10 to $20 range. Let me know if that makes sense. So they got their height set and they got their low set. How do we know this, coach? So listen to this. This is the one thing that pre-market is good for. Whenever you guys are looking at after hour prices and pre-market, write this down. Okay, classes in session, okay, guys.
Quantums
If
didn't
you're
move
looking at
today.
pre-market, it's called running a test. They're gonna go hit certain prices that they know they want to go try to test at the rate cut or on earnings, different stuff like that. So you have to kind of peep like, ooh, we up huge in after hours, or the market was up in pre-market, but then you ever notice that it might not come to that price all the time when the market opens? That's called running a test. They're coming back to it though. They trying to lure you to sleep, hoping you forget you saw that. Same thing is to the downside. Everything they do in one direction, they do in the opposite, okay? So with that being said, they're going to show you the lower levels, like on a red day. That don't mean it's gonna come there that day. It's just showing you when we go down, we coming down to test these low levels. And you need to be like, oh, I peep in pre-market, it was down there, but at market open, it blasted up. Okay, they're just making a little mark. They're just making a little mark so that they can, at some point in time, at a later date, come back and test that level. Know your levels, change your life for me, okay? So listen, we bought Palantir today. We bought Nvidia today. We bought BMNR. I don't want you doing too much. Everybody I be all over the world, guys, and people be acting like investing is rocket science. I'm looking like I make millions doing this, guys. Keep it simple. Don't ever let nobody overcomplicate this, okay? When you get your bearings under you, when you get your affairs in order, you can do way more than $5. Let me know if that's understood. So listen to this. I had to get my feet wet. They didn't have fractional shares when Coach started. So years ago, back in the day, I was doing 250. That was always my number. 250. So $250. So I would pick stocks. Like, so for instance, Apple used to be 124. Okay. 250 got me 2 shares. Does that make sense?
Okay. I like the info. Fractional shares are cool. Do want to jump into some info about ASPI. You got any comments, questions, ask them on YouTube. We'll get cooking here. Do a little breakdown. Collaborated with this Bill Gates company? Is that right? They supply uranium for their reactor project in Wyoming. Okay. So what other uranium companies? There's a lot of them. I think this one is definitely one of the CCJ up a lot. This one is not run yet. Okay. Here goes. Let's do a little breakdown here. There is one stock that is about to skyrocket. It is connected to a $2 billion Bill Gates funded nuclear energy company. And after Nvidia talked about quantum at their technology conference today in Washington, D.C., Nvidia is up significantly. Nvidia also has a venture arm that is invested in this Bill Gates company. And this little known uranium company, the ticker is ASPI, has not run up yet. I think it's gonna go up. I think the connections to Gates and Nvidia are very powerful. And I think now is the time for uranium to be investable before it goes up. This is not financial advice. Let's jump in.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So, this is today's conference, this technology event. And Jensen, Trump was not there. Jensen was joking about how Trump asked him to be in another continent, but the reason it was supposed to be in DC was to be with Trump. But you know what? Still was a pretty big deal for Nvidia. Let's look at Nvidia stock today. Broke through 200. Was that predictable? Hard to say. I think there was definitely excitement about this conference, and that was predictable, but we didn't know exactly what he was going to say. So, kind of like an earnings event, you don't exactly know how it's going to go. But he did talk about collaborating with over a dozen quantum companies. Interestingly, he did mention IONQ, but if we look at the IONQ share price, actually sold off. So wasn't good for IONQ. Now, the company I'm talking about is ASPI. They provide the uranium for nuclear energy companies like this Bill Gates company I mentioned. And essentially what Jensen was talking about is Nvidia is committed to enabling quantum. And now the question just becomes, what's the timeline for this and what companies are going to benefit? So this was the big news from the technology conference. While we're talking about it, they're going to build AI supercomputers for the U.S. Energy Department, and $500 billion is a big number. But if we look down at this Bill Gates company, it's privately traded. It's about a $2 billion funded company, and it's supported by Nvidia's venture arm. So we can kind of connect the dots here and say there's going to have to be nuclear power to allow Nvidia to make all of these advancements to provide the energy. They're not going to get it from current power opportunities, so they need uranium in order to supply that. ASPI is the company that's going to be used to do that. And if we look into what that company does, well, here we go. This is the Bill Gates company, TerraPower. They're private. And here is ASPI. They have a 10-year agreement with TerraPower. They do this quantum enrichment technology, production of high purity isotopes, blah, blah, blah. You need uranium in order to have nuclear. You need nuclear in order to have enough power to satisfy all this demand. And if there isn't enough power to satisfy the demand from the LLM companies like OpenAI also recently just struck a deal, made their deal more clear with Microsoft that it's 29% of OpenAI is what Microsoft now owns. And all of this is centered on the juggernaut, the behemoth, Nvidia. Okay, I'm going to stop using these words, but if Nvidia can't get enough power, they can't use all their GPUs. They are very power hungry, even with the power efficiency technology. So all this hinges on power, which hinges on uranium. And there's one company, ASPI, which is this enriched uranium company that's used for quantum as well, which Jensen talked about today. And this is where it's at on the chart. So that's what an investor needs to know. And if you look at uranium, this thing has already run 200, 300%, right? LEU, this thing has already run 100% plus. And so now you have to ask, what is still investable? Well, what's investable is a company that hasn't gone up yet. And on a 5-year chart, this thing has gone up a fair amount. I mean, it's a penny stock. Of course, it's gone up a lot. But now we're getting to a point where it's above this level from about exactly a year ago. And there's plenty of volume here. This is not the prettiest, right? It's gone sideways while the market's gone up. But if it does break out of this range, and you see this volume has been pretty heavy, this is going to get pretty interesting. It's only a $10 stock. There is earnings in mid-November. Nvidia earnings as well are going to matter, okay? Not just for this stock, but for the whole market. So Nvidia earnings are right after that ASPI earnings. So this is the next uranium stock to move, in my opinion. I don't know exactly that, this is a basic picture of what's going on here, but who exactly knows, right, how important this piece is, the quantum computing piece, right? If it's extremely important, ASPI is going to go up a lot. If it turns out to be a 15-year down the road science project, the stock is not going to go up that much. It just is what it is. But the important part is we know right now it's extremely topical because it was talked about at this conference. This conference was a big deal. I mean, you can see that from the Nvidia stock price move. It's massive. And if ASPI does not end up being that important, well, no harm, no foul. I mean, it's basically gone sideways. It's just going to keep going sideways, most likely. Now, we can talk about risk factors because that's always important to keep in mind. And this is the dilution that tells that story. It's a $1 billion company. You know, it's somewhat worth looking at. It's not a tiny, tiny startup, but they do not have much cash, okay? And they could offer as well. So this number of shares, it's about 180 million, whatever it is, could increase. And if we look down, the benefit of investing now is we can see they raised about 3 months ago in July, and then they raised some more money just about a week ago. So they're unlikely to raise very soon. This is a lot of money, $210 million at $14, October 15th. So they raised up here. It's above their share price right now. It looks like actually some of those shares might have, you know, when they raised that money, it looks like some shares were definitely dumped. Okay, so that's kind of the risk factor you have to be careful with these little companies. But the benefit is, you know, they're unlikely to raise a lot more given they just did in the near future. So you have a little bit of a space to buy it without worrying about overhead supply, new shares entering the market. They can't raise using this current shelf offering statement, S3. And as far as the actual cash on hand, they can't just sell shares into the open market. So that's what may have happened just recently. So you do have to be careful of that as well, because they can just increase the float that way. But if there's enough interest, if Nvidia is strong, and particularly if these quantum companies show a little bit of life, obviously there wasn't much movement right now, I think this uranium company is going to move. And it might not even be the quantum companies, it might be the more established uranium companies, LEU and UUUU. DNN is another one if they have good earnings, and their earnings are before ASBI. So that's another factor you can use if you go over to UUUU. That earnings is also before. So you get a sense of how these companies are doing, how the sector is going before ASBI's earnings. So a lot to look at there, but I do think it's a super favorable opportunity that hasn't been talked about much right now. And if you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe. And if you want to make $1,000 in stocks in the next 90 days or your money back, and you're serious about this, click that join button or head over to stockscommunity.com to join the Discord and take advantage of that guarantee. See you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right, let's see what else Chris Sane has got going on here.
Got me 2 shares. And so I would just be consistent with doing that until my money went up, or till Apple went up to 192, and then it made me some money. Then I had more money to repeat that same process. When I make money with options, guys, I come back around and do the same thing, okay? So I want you guys to be prepared for the rate cut. I want to say a major salute to everybody that made money today. But listen, be in the Discord first thing in the morning because we're going to run it back. Listen, and be looking out for the bull traps and rug pulls. Okay, you got to know the seasonality period we're in. We can't just be falling asleep at the wheel. Okay, see profit, take profit, get in and get up out of there for me. All right, listen, man, we make videos like this every day, so if you like this one, make sure you check out the next one. Remember, most people see the end result, very few consider the journey. Do me a favor, don't forget to subscribe to the
I was
channel.
jumping
Make sure
the
you guys
gun
grab some
there,
free
ready
stuff
for
in my
that
link below, and
training.
I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Here we go.
Cool. I want you guys to hang out with Coach for a minute. Matter of fact, do me a favor, go right ahead and get you a glass of tea. Get up, get you some tea, get you a cup of coffee. Come hang out, man. I'm gonna sit back and chop it up with you guys on a day, but in a very, very impactful and powerful way. Okay, so come on in. Let's have a good time. As you come on in, let me know two things: where you from, and if you made money this week. Okay, what's up, family? What up, GTV? What's good, Christina? What's good, Des? What's good, Mikey? What's good, family? I see Chicago in the building. As you guys come on in, let me know where you guys are from. Let me know if you made money this week. Then I want you to get ready to make some money this upcoming week, okay? We're going to have a fun little kickback today. I want to go over a couple things with you. I think that'll serve you well in your journey. But just come hang out with Coach for a minute, man. There's some early morning game, $1 million worth of game on drop on you guys this morning. Let me know where you from. Then let me know if you made money this week, guys. We're going to get to it. All right, so I'm going to break some stuff down.
I can see comments on YouTube.
Like I say, sip on some tea, get a cup of coffee, clean up while you listening to this, straighten up some things, run some errands. Coach just going to drop some nuggets on you guys today, okay? Feel free to take some notes or replay this and watch this at least 2 times, okay? Watch this at least 2 times. Matter of fact, do one last thing for me. Share this with at least 10 people. Like and share, and then make sure you at least share this with at least 10 people, because what we're going to talk about today could help them as well. And we got to reach as many people as we can, all right? So diving right to it. Let me know if you made money this week. Let me know where you from, okay? What inspired you to start trading? I want you guys to think about what inspired you to start trading. All right, think about that question for me. All right, was it something that you recently stumbled upon? Was it something you've always been interested in? Was it something you got more interested in as of late? I want to know all about it, okay? What got me started in trading was this, guys. I was a investor first. I started out the game as an avid investor. I built my wealth as an investor. Matter of fact, I retired young from investing, okay? So then the whole mantra was buy and hold, or set it and forget it. As you guys come on in, get the likes up for me. And so as I was buying and holding, after you do that for like 10 years, yes, you see the power of investing. Yes, you see the power of compounding. But then after that, it's like, what's next? Man, I know it got to be more to the game than just this, okay? And so for me, that is when I got introduced to trading. Now, I've been in the game a long time. That's why I became the best and have mastered this craft, okay? But what happened was I learned so many behaviors from investing. So real quick story. What made me one of the best traders in the world after I took my lumps, I'm going to talk to y'all about that in a little bit. What made me one of the best traders in the world way back in the day, one of my first stocks was Nike, Apple, and Tesla, back when nobody didn't know about. Tesla is an old company. The world just now learning about it now, but Tesla is over 10 years old. So those are my first 3 companies along with VTI. But check this out. Back in the day, Apple used to be $124. It used to be $118.
All right. Apple's breaking at all-time highs. I think this company, APLD, Applied Digital, is interesting. Let's talk about it. So APLD, Applied Digital, is an Nvidia elite partner. So Nvidia invested in this company. We get $15 billion over the next 10 years. Okay. Let's jump into a little breakdown. I can see comments on YouTube. There's one stock that is about to jump up in price. It is an Nvidia partner, which is a big deal on Nvidia's Global Technology Conference day today. Nvidia stock jumped up a lot, over $200. And this stock, I think, is also going to benefit. It hasn't gone up yet, which is important. So they also are invested in by Nvidia. Nvidia has a stake in them. And they have a client, CoreWeave, that does AI infrastructure that has a lease on this company's data centers. This ticker is APLD, Applied Digital. They're projected to get $15 billion over the next 10 years from this NVIDIA linked company, CoreWeave, this company that manages NVIDIA GPUs and makes all the workloads work, so the LLMs work, so ChatGPT works. APLD is the ticker, and this is not financial advice, but this is looking very bullish.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is the partnership. APLD got a 15-year lease agreement with this company that NVIDIA is also invested in. So, you know, like everything that's getting talked about, it all comes back to NVIDIA. But you know what? I'm not certain that you could just have known to and buy NVIDIA before today, because you didn't know what Jensen was going to say. So sometimes an event is a very bullish for a stock, sometimes it's not. And I think the smart thing to do is to look at other companies that are going to benefit. And I think APLD is in that category. So they're working with the hyperscalers. Okay, that's the buzzword of the next couple years, to build out this just armies and armies of GPUs. This one is in North Dakota, and they're getting up to that GW, that gigawatt, which is you know, what we got to get to, multiple gigawatts. So as far as the connection, they're not just connected to NVIDIA, they're also connected to Cores, C-O-R-Z. And Cores, interestingly, has its shareholder vote just in a couple days if they're going to approve their basically merger with CoreWeave. That's not quite the right word, but it's an acquisition situation. So CoreWeave is trying to figure out if they're going to acquire Cores. Cores has to agree to it. This is what happened back when the rumor became reality. This is definitely going to happen. Well, it's going to happen as long as the vote goes through. And now the reality is like becoming whether the vote actually goes through or not. So this is pretty much the price it's trading at, is pretty much the price they're talking about back here, around $20. So that event is one event that is important to keep an eye on to decide how APLD is as an investment. Also, just watching APLD's price, of course, is the number one indicator of buying demand. Notably, this is sort of the trader mindset. The SPY, the market went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Big gap up over the weekend. And so APLD, it's up a lot. It's definitely up a lot. But notably, it did move up, but not nearly as much. Not nearly to the same percent as the SPY did. Well, actually, it would be the same percent, wouldn't it? But if you look at some other companies as far as gaps intraday, this is what we're talking about for big moves over the last 5 days. Another one would be ARM, right? Sold off today, but AMD for sure. Big moves the last few days. APLD hasn't really moved yet. And these are sort of opportunities where it's holding, right? It's not like some tiny penny stock, that just sold off recently. I'm talking about a stock that hasn't moved up a ton, but also hasn't sold off. So it's kind of that Goldilocks opportunity. And it recently had earnings, and it does have that Nvidia connection in more ways than one. It actually doesn't have a connection to OpenAI, except for through the Nvidia connections I already talked about. Well, they are involved with this Korean group in the AI infrastructure. I mean, look, Lisa Su, AMD's CEO, is cousins with Jensen Huang, Nvidia's founder and CEO. So, of course, there's connections everywhere. But it's important to at least keep track of which companies Nvidia has invested in versus which companies Nvidia has partnered with, because that's a big difference in confidence level. And notably, Nvidia has invested in APLD. So, it's not a huge investment, 150 million for Nvidia. It's a pretty huge investment for most companies to make. But this is the data center that is then getting used by CoreWeave. So now the question just becomes, we know about all the connections. We know kind of, that the company has gone up a lot. And we know about these new data centers and how, it's not a ton compared to the gigawatts that get talked about. But the numbers still start to get pretty big. Generating about $5 billion in revenue over 15 years for just one of their data centers. That's a big deal, and there's expected to be more data centers. Now, as far as recent revenue, it was pretty solid, and we can look at exactly what it was. But if you look at the chart, you can see that it was responded to well, which is kind of all we really need to know, right? We can see that the actual earnings were better than expected. It was still a miss, but not by much. And the reason we look at the chart more than what the earnings were is that, well, this is a pretty ugly reaction from Netflix, right? And yeah, it was a miss on earnings, but not by a lot, It seems like not by a lot. And then if we look at some other sort of crazy earnings reactions this earnings season, look at this. IBM sold off, then got bought back up, and then had a massive day, and then is continuing up, or at least holding. And this is an earnings beat that was initially sold off. Another important one, Tesla, similarly, sold off, reclaimed, and then now breaking up over that $450 whole dollar level. So I don't necessarily know, all of the ins and outs of how this earnings was received by Wall Street, except to say, look at the actual chart, it held up. And if we look at other earnings this year, they're doing pretty well, but that's CRS, Carpenter, they do the steel alloys, GM, holding up as well. But what's really going to be important is these reports in the middle of the week, not just Apple and Amazon on Thursday, but also on Wednesday, Meta and Google. So as those come out, that's going to basically be, trillions of dollars in market cap, sort of deciding the fate of the market. And if it's strong, APLD is well positioned technically to take advantage of that because, as I mentioned, it hasn't gone yet. There are some other companies that were in that situation, sort of, and then went today, Broadcom being one. Qualcomm recently had that AI chip news, so they were already sort of moving up. But as far as speculative names, they're already coming down. Quantums and rare earths are cooling off. Uranium as well, besides this little company that hasn't gone yet. It has to be APLD, in my opinion. I'm usually wrong a lot of the time. The best investors are wrong most of the time, actually. But when you're right, you're able to risk very little and make quite a lot. So when you compare it to CoreWeave, which it's very connected to, as we talked about, this is just a choppy mess. And so it has to be APLD in terms of opportunity right after this Nvidia conference, knowing that the reaction to the conference was awesome. Nvidia went up a lot. So that's the idea. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe. And if you want to take advantage of this make $1,000 in stocks in the next 90 days or your money back offer, if you're serious about this, you want to give it a real shot, head over to stockscommunity.com, or you can hit that join button now on YouTube and get these members first videos. See if it's for you. And I look forward to your success. It's risk-free.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right, let's jump into a little more Christine here.
But it will always go from 118 to 124. And then, guys, when it took off, it went to 192. For years, I watched it go from 118 to 124 to 192. And then guess what, guys? It'll come all the way back down to 118. It just did that every single year, year after year, year after year. Okay. So what happened was, over time, I'm looking like, man, I'm holding these shares and I got a low average cost. I bought it when it was low, but then when it ran up high, I didn't do nothing. Now it's all the way from 192 back down to 118. And so I was like, you know what? That's where I first learned rinse and repeat. I'm looking like this goes to the same range, 124 to 192, 124 to 192. So then one year I just said, you know what? I'm going to buy as many shares as I can, and I'm going to sell half when it gets to 192. Sure enough, it hit 192, came all the way back down to 124. Now, as of late, guys, Apple has finally hit $200. Now, mind you, this is not accounting
Apple's
for
at
stock
all-time
splits
highs.
and all that kind of stuff. I just want to give you a simplified version of what I'm trying to teach you, okay? So listen to this. The behavior, and because I'm a high level athlete, meaning we used to watch film, we study. So I brought that same dynamic to the stock market. When I would see a chart, when I would see the patterns and behaviors, I'm looking like, oh, they're doing the same thing over and over. So what that did was I jotted it down, 118 or 192. Okay. So then I said, I'm going to try to do an option on this. This is where my trading career began, okay? And I'm going to see what happens if I buy an option, a call option to be specific, at 118 to 124. That was my zone. I always want you to embrace buying in zones, okay? And then I rode it all the way up to 192. I probably sold it at 190 just to play it safe. And that blew my mind. It opened me up to the possibilities. I'm looking like, wow, this made me so much money off of understanding patterns and behaviors of how these stocks that I was investing in was moving. So I was like, okay, because I'm an investor, I see what these stocks do every single year. They just do the same thing. One year it's up, one year is down. One year it's up, one year is down. And so I finally dibbled and dabbled into trading. The next question, guys, why 90% of traders lose? Okay. Tell me why you think 90% of traders lose. Coach is going to tell you what I believe. Okay. Number one, losses come with the game. I tell this story any chance I get. Before I became the best, I had 2.5 years of losses. Okay. I like that one. FOMO is definitely one. Psychology is definitely one. No stop loss is definitely one. Absolutely, guys. These are some phenomenal answers. Why 90% of traders lose? I lost for 2.5 years, guys. And one reason, before I even get down to the nitty gritty of why people lose, is because some people come in with a get rich quick mentality. Some people come in thinking that they are about to just not learn, not understand how the game go, and just gonna just jump in and all of a sudden make all this money. And sometimes, just believe it or not, you can have beginner's luck, and some people can do it. But 90% of people that get lucky the first time, they end up losing it. And then that is what forces them to want to learn so they can repeat the success that they had. Okay. But 90% of traders lose because they come into the game trying to get rich quick. They think this is a dice game. They think this is the casino. They treat it like gambling when we treat this like high level chess. We are technical experts. We are technicians. I call it being a surgeon. I am precise with what I speak, what I do, and how I trade. Okay. That's why at this level of the game, I make 30 to 50,000 a day. I'm at a level where I don't see nobody up at my level of trading. Okay, I don't care what you're doing, leaps, swing trades. I don't care what you're doing. Nobody is at my level, so we get lonely up here because I mastered the game at such a level.
All right, let's talk about another master of the uranium game, Urenergy. Jump into a little recent news here. $80 billion in investment for CCJ. I can see comments over on YouTube. Here we go. Let's jump in. Whoop. We got a stuck mouse again here, folks. Can see YouTube comments though, so ask away. There's one stock that is about to explode in a good way. This stock is a uranium stock. The government today, under Donald Trump's executive orders, Trump plans to quadruple the amount of nuclear energy capacity by 2050 to 400 gigawatts, a massive amount of energy. And as a result of achieving that, getting towards that goal, the government took a stake in a company owned by CCJ is the uranium company. I think there's another uranium company that could be next. The ticker is, well, I'll show you it in just a second, but it's not an isotope company. It's a uranium enrichment company. This is not financial advice. I'm not going to hold you hostage here. We'll jump into it right here.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is the ticker. I have the dilution information pulled up. It's URG, your energy, because I want to show you they don't need cash. They're low risk. They're unlikely to sell shares into the market. This low means right here, if I can focus this thing, they don't have much sort of capacity to do offerings. So offering is offering shares to the public. So there's not a lot of supply as a result. And we can see that down here. And we look at how they've raised money in the past. Don't worry, I am slowly figuring out how to make this the right size. In September of last year, they did raise some money. There we go. Bingo. At $1, they raised $2 million. It's not a lot at all. 60 million right before that, though, a underwritten offering, not just a selling to retail. This underwritten offering in July, $60 million. So since then, they've got enough cash, but they could definitely use more. And look at the stock price. It's a penny stock, right? So if we look back in July of last year, we can basically see when they did raise that money. That's not the right year. Here we go. When they did raise that money in July of last year, it does have an effect on the share price, right? The share price did go down after that. So, they sold $2 million worth of stock after that $60 million raise, and it certainly had an effect on the share price. So that's what you have to be careful of. That's why we open a video about this with this dilution information, because this is less than $1 billion market cap. It's a young uranium mining company. Okay, so it's a penny stock. It's literally a dollar. Anything under $5 you could say is a penny stock. Now, with all that said, it's still interesting for a lot of accounts. It trades over $10-15 million a day. So you can put 100K or 200K in this, even up to maybe 500K if you're able to space it out over like an hour or so. You're going to move the stock a little bit, but the point is, if we look at sort of the intraday action here, there is enough volume for this to be interesting. On a 1 hour basis, it gets up to $2 million of volume. So over an hour, can you put 500K in there? Almost. I'll say that. How's that? So look, this is the stock price. And if you look at other uranium stocks, they've sort of cooled off. Okay. UU isn't looking super investable. It kind of looks like it's kind of thing that could go down, right? I mean, I'm not one to always draw a bunch of lines on my charts, but it doesn't look pretty. And then you have earnings coming up as well. DNN as well, looking like it's already gone. So it's not a category of chart that you want to look at. And then LEU has that earnings as well. As it rebounded, but you have to kind of be careful for earnings coming up. So this URG is interesting. Sure, it has earnings coming up, but as you can see, it hasn't gone up in the way that DNN has. So that's basically the look of the chart that gets interesting, volumes trailing off. And the big news, the reason why we're talking about this is there are other companies that basically enrich the uranium. URG is in the category of extracting the uranium. You need both. I have talked about this ASPI as well, But this is the important news event today. Cameco, CCJ, there was an $80 billion nuclear energy initiative involving the U.S. government, Brookfield Asset Management, and Westinghouse Electric Company. This is from Trump's executive order, accelerating deployment of nuclear power using Westinghouse's technology. It's to create 100,000 jobs and bolster energy infrastructure. So CCJ holds almost half of Westinghouse. So that's the connection. And there is some deal terms, but the point is, if you look at CCJ's stock, that was obviously very bullish, massive move up from 80 to, it's 25% in a day. It's absolutely insane. Very reminiscent of the OpenAI deal moves, or not even those. The AMD OpenAI deal move was a lot, but even more closely similar to when the government took a stake in Intel, or when the Department of Energy funded $400 billion, took a stake in MP Materials, the rare earth company, and that thing is up way more than 25%. It's up 200%. So is this thing going to keep going? It definitely could, but what's the safer move? Believe it or not, penny stock is starting to look like an attractive risk reward opportunity. Now, you don't want to put money in here that you can't afford to lose. It's a $1 stock, and we already looked at some of the dilution effects that have happened in the past. But with all that said, it's at a favorable level. So that's sort of the backdrop of why we're talking about this right now. And then if we look at actual projects, what they own, what they've got going on, here's some of their facilities. Wyoming is basically home base, and they're doing nuclear fuels. So there's no major partnerships yet. I mean, it's a penny stock. What are we expecting them to have a huge partnership? But they are sort of this uncovered gem. And if we look at the ETF URA, and DNN is a Canadian, so that's not particularly connected to CCJ, although it did have a move up today. This is the ETF. So as long as there's strength here, it pretty much bodes well for the sector. So here's URG, nothing to sneeze at. Super favorable left side peak here moving up, and just have to be aware of that earnings in early November. So if we look above at basically, typical penny stock information, here's what we want to be aware of. They did have, they're a tiny company. They're not trading much volume, but they do have some analysts, you could say risk factors. So if this Wyoming facility doesn't work out, that's a problem, but obviously it's in the US, so that's a major benefit if it does work out. And the US rare earths companies, I mentioned MP, but there's the other ones, CRML as well. It's been down a lot now, but USAR, has US in the name. That thing went up a lot. So did it come down? It did. These are not long-term investments, but we can't just be looking at opportunities that move, a couple percent a day or less. I mean, Ford is not something that you necessarily want to buy into, right? It moves 4% a day. Sure, on an earnings move, it's interesting. It starts to get interesting. GM moves 4% a day. On an earnings move, you can get in there. But at the end of the day, you're really only getting from 65 to 70, over a few days. Maybe you get 10% over a week. It's very safe. It's very smooth. But to get that sort of return that beats the market, sometimes speculation is sort of the best move with a portion of your portfolio. And if you don't believe me, well, look at some of the speculative names, like the quantum names in September went absolutely crazy. Actually, even more closely, to URG, the uranium names went crazy in September as well with the market. So this is the ticker. It hasn't gone super crazy yet. It's super in the limelight, this sector, because of that government Trump investment in that Westinghouse subsidiary. So URG could be next. And if you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you haven't you haven't subscribed yet, and you want to see more, hit that subscribe. If you haven't participated in our make $1,000 in stocks in 90 days or get your money back guarantee, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can actually click that face right there that's going to show up in just a moment and take a look. So it's pretty risk-free. This is not financial advice, but I hope this all helps.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right. What is Chris saying up to now?
Not seen before in the trading space. But 90% of people lose because then there's no plan. There's no stop loss. There's no risk management. And so I see all these behaviors from people. And one thing that I learned about the stock market and trading, it will reveal your character flaws. If you are not a patient person, it's going to reveal that.
PDD.
If you are dealing with some demons in your personal life, it's going to reveal that. If you got anger issues, it's going to reveal that. If you're not patient just with things in life, or you want things to happen now and you can't wait for a pattern to set up or develop, trading options is going to reveal those things about yourself, which should serve as the personal development you need to do. Because I often say these things go hand in hand. Why do you guys think coaches on you guys all the time about making sure your spiritual life is on point? Simply because you need to have a healthy mental health, you need to have a healthy emotional health, you need to have healthy spiritual health, because all of it's going to play a factor in this game right here, okay? And so understanding that, I'm looking like, man, the get rich quick crowd, the gambling and casino crowd, these are the individuals that sometimes take the biggest losses and then they never bounce back because they think it's a scam. They think it's rigged. They think something crazy like manipulation is taking place. When all the while, it's their mentality that needs to change, okay? You can't think you're going to club and party all weekend and not read your chart, not study over the weekend, and then come in first thing Monday morning and just get busy in the market. It will humble you, and it will make you, if you really want to be good at this game, take it serious and learn the necessary nuances, okay? So 90% of traders lose because of get rich quick, trying to get rich overnight, no discipline, no stop loss, okay? And trading without a plan, okay? The other reasons they lose, write this down, everybody. Overstaying their welcome, being greedy, and trying to make all their losses back in one trade, okay? These are things I want you to avoid, but all of us have been there. I've been there, coach. I lead the charge. I lead the pack with these same behaviors because it took me a minute to tighten up my game as well, okay? And so that's why I want you guys to know 90% of traders have these tendencies that they got to work on so that they can become the 10%. They can become part of the 10%, and then you get to my level, you become part of the 0.01%, okay? Best stocks to day trade. Everybody write this down, man. People always say, Coach.
No day trading. All right. Let's talk about PDD. Timu. It's the owner of Timu. Jump into a little breakdown here. Here we go. I think they are the big company. Whoa. They don't have any dilution. That matters anyway. Temu. Is in 90 countries. Okay. Let's use this info. No charts, no confusing diagrams, just this info and the chart. Here we go. I can see comments on YouTube. Jump into a little breakdown here. Xi Jinping, What is this? China's president, Xi. He's the president, right? Secretary of the Communist Party. Jesus. So, oh, he's the president. Oh, he's also was the secretary. All right, now we're really becoming too much of an expert here. You want to be an expert on stocks that go up. Here we go. Well, breakdown time. If you do have those comments, I can see those. Otherwise, let's go. There's one stock that is about to go up. It is a owner of Temu. So Temu is the Amazon of China. I don't know that Amazon would want Temu to be called the Amazon of China, but if you've ever ordered something on your phone from Temu, it's like Amazon, but if you can believe it, cheaper. It's directly from China. So after 2 Fridays ago, the China, US, Trump, Xi, the president of China, tensions about tariffs, this company, unsurprisingly, went down. The stock went down. The PDD is the ticker that owns Temu. The stock went down. Since then, it has recovered. There's been other companies as well that are in favorable positions that are very similar. The Argentine Amazon, that's Mercado Libre, MELI, and the Amazon of Africa, that's JMIA, ticker symbol for that, are all at interesting positions. Is this all related? It can be. Sometimes investors like to invest in sectors, not in continents, right? So they're all doing e-commerce. Amazon does have earnings on Thursday. That will have some effect, although it's not certain what it'll be. I don't think I have to worry about that or you have to worry about that. This company's at a favorable spot. Its ticker is PDD. And let's take a look at what we can figure out about how Temu has been doing. It's not financial advice.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is PDD. 10 years ago, they started and they've expanded a lot, but only recently did they launch Temu. So they're similar to Alibaba as well. And JD is another Chinese company. Of course, the biggest similarities are Amazon and maybe you could say Shopify, just as the sort of retail underbelly for a lot of other stores that compete with Temu. Now, they're very different scales. I mean, Temu is a pretty massive scale, but not compared to Amazon. So here's the information about it that is super high level, and that's kind of all we need just to figure out what we're looking at here. This makes sense. This is the China tariff warning that Trump sent out in a tweet, in a truth, and this got crushed. I mean, but if you look at the Chinese index, it got crushed as well. So all the companies went down, Baba, Baidu. However, Baidu sort of curled up, gapped up over the weekend. Baba, same situation, grinding back up. And if we look at this Temu company, it's ground up so much, marched up so much, that this Chinese company is actually breaking out. And it does have earnings coming up at the end of November. So one of the last earnings, even after Nvidia. So Nvidia will be sort of the major indicator of the market strength as a whole, the end of earnings season. And then as far as Chinese companies, Baba is probably the biggest indicator, maybe Baidu as well. And if you look at PDD, that actually reports after those two. So you do have the advantage of seeing those Baba and Baidu earnings come out before PDD. So, and these are relatively, I mean, I can say, I think they're actual earnings. And the way the reason I say that in the way I did is that there are a lot of Asian depository receipt stocks, ADRs, that, look more like this. And when they come out with earnings, who knows what those numbers actually mean? Of course, you can see it on the stock. There's not a lot of demand for the stock. But with these super big established companies, the earnings are actually real, which is pretty helpful as an investor. So the stock is at a favorable level. It's over this spot, which is a big deal. And then there's another spot up at 150, which it's approaching. So if you can get a cushion coming into earnings, that's great. Otherwise, maybe you watch how it moves sideways into earnings and watch those Baba and Baidu earnings come out. But as for what they've been up to, well, Temu, it's in 90 countries, and they're basically an app. It's kind of like a casino. If you open it up on your phone, you get immediately get a discount. You might even get something for basically free or free shipping. It's $2 item or something. They are very good at they initially, I'm sure, were losing money, but I think they're very good at getting users, you could say, finding new customers. So profits doubled. Revenues are above $1.5 billion, massive increase from the year before, and they've been growing a lot. So this is sort of the story, though, that you have to be aware of if you're going to dump a bunch of money in these big Chinese companies. This is bound to happen with massive companies, with massive e-commerce companies. A kid, swallows some magnets that allegedly he purchased from Temu. So, whatever, maybe they shouldn't be selling magnets to kids. And then there's some recalls as well. And then, there's this other situation where there was, just some areas of commerce that this company probably shouldn't be involved with. It's probably not worth being involved with. But it's all physical products. It's not not a big deal. And as far as other litigation, there was some allegations that they might have been doing some sort of pricing innovative strategies. So it kind of sounds similar to like merchants competing with Amazon Basics, right? But they have to do this above the board. So hopefully that'll sort of get straightened out. This is in Germany, so it's a massive market. Germany is the biggest market in Europe, but it's not the U.S. market. So as far as connections to big companies, they do have, major U.S. investors, as well as these sort of passive index fund investors that are in a ton of these big companies. So they're the real deal. Of course, they carry, brands we all know, as well as some of these lesser known, more inexpensive Chinese brands. But they're very much could become, the same way that ByteDance and TikTok were a major challenger to Meta and Facebook. They could become a major challenger to Amazon. Recent investments in April, about 10 billion plus over the next 3 years to support agriculture. So it seems pretty unrelated to Temu, but we do know this is a holding company, so you do have to take that with a grain of salt. As far as Temu itself, it overtook AliExpress, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, AliExpress is basically the supplier of so many e-commerce stores that are on Shopify. They get their products made and then distributed through AliExpress. So Shine is a little more upmarket than Temu, as well as AliExpress. Temu is below that. But yeah, all we can really say is that I think these numbers are real. Free cash flow is increasing, almost tripling. It looks like it's expected to. And because these numbers are real, we'll actually see that come out when earnings come out in just a month. And then this sort of valuation, I would just completely ignore this, because even US companies, this is totally just fabricated and made up, because you can just change the variables to make the valuation whatever you want. That's why stock picking is important and not totally outsourced to AI. So here's the opportunity. Here's the comparisons. Baba and Baidu, those earnings to come out. Yen is the index. You do need that to go well. There are a couple other major ones, Tiger and Futu, that have been recently, coming back to very similar levels as PDD. So there's the stock, there's the idea. And if you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you want more, hit that subscribe. And if you want a almost completely free course, it is $1. Hit that join button or head over to stockscommunity.com. You can get familiarized with the community, familiarized with, that would be WAP is the course provider, the payment processor on stockscommunity.com, or you can get it through YouTube. So through the way you'd get YouTube Premium or rent a movie on YouTube. Try that out. See if it's for you. I'll see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right, let's jump back to some Chris saying here.
Coach, what's the best stocks to day trade? All right, you guys let me know some of your favorite stocks. I'm going to tell you the best stocks to day trade, okay? And so when you get a chance to actually start trading, these are some of the ones I want you to consider, okay? Leading it off, some of the best stocks to day trade is out the gate, the SPY and QQQ, okay? These offer the chance for you to trade the market, okay, SPY is a total stock market, and the QQQ, the triple Qs we call it, is the top tech companies, okay? They are liquid and they're going to give you the level of movement and price action where you can learn how to make money, okay? But then lateral to QQQ and SPY, the best stocks to trade, write this down. GEV Renova is what it's called. App Loving, APP. Tesla is really good to trade if you like volatility. Okay. Then you have AVGO used to be the best stock to trade before the stock split. Okay, but still put them on your list. AMD and Apple. Okay. And then you got some new players in there like Palantir. They new on the board now. If you've been with me, you already know about them. You got some new players like Hood. You got some new players like Uber and Netflix. Okay. And then Meta is one of the better stocks to trade, especially around earnings. Okay. But listen to this. Here's a quick nugget for you guys. Okay. Here's a quick nugget. Every stock goes through a 3-month hibernation period, or we call it consolidation, when they're not doing anything. Get the likes up for me, guys. Make sure we get the likes up, okay? Every stock goes through a 3-month period, a 3-month window of time when it's not doing nothing. That's not for you to necessarily panic. You just need to know where to go looking at during those time periods, okay? So for example, Apple was not doing nothing for like 3 to 6 months, and then boom, we just had this explosion. Okay.
Apple is
Nvidia was
back.
not doing nothing the first half of the year, and then boom, we had an explosion. Okay. So you need to know that. You need to know, man, all of my stocks will have a 3-month period where they're chilling. We call it hibernating or consolidating, and then they're preparing their next move. Okay, the next stock that's going to do that is Amazon and Google. They've been down, not down like down. They just been like flat, not doing nothing, not participating in all the rallies. But they'll be the next 2 stocks to do what Apple just did. So don't fall asleep, guys. Don't fall asleep on that. Okay, but the best stocks to trade: QQQ, SPY, Tesla, GEV, App Loving, okay, Nvidia, Hood, Palantir. Put those 8 in your Rolodex for me, okay? Next, which is better to trade? Okay, QQQ or the SPY? All right, listen to this. The SPY has 500 companies in it versus the QQQ, which has 100. So when you think of
Okay. The SPY is still mostly Mag 7, which is crazy. Not most. 40%. It's a lot. Is a lot. What is this company Sim? What are they even all about? That's what we want to know. Here we go. Storage. Denser storage, faster bot trips. Bot trip, that's going to be a new buzzword. What else here? AI-enabled robotics for the supply chain. Warehouse automation. Okay. They serve Target. Here we go. Jump into a little breakdown. There's one stock that is about to go up, in my opinion. It is a robotics company. Today is the Nvidia Global Technology Conference, Nvidia stock breaking up over $200. Robotics is the theme right now. And this company, the ticker is SYM, does warehouse automation, which is a huge deal. Think about robots packing all the Amazon packages. They also acquired a company from Walmart for $200 million. Then Walmart turned around and invested 500 plus million in them. Walmart Labs is a big deal. I mean, the founder of Instagram sat on the board for Walmart. So they're very innovative. SYM, this company, is very innovative. They are also in a joint venture with SoftBank, which is arguably the best, or at least the biggest at one point, venture investor in the world. So this company is very technologically advanced, and this could become the next humanoid company, or at least the kinds of robot humanoids that do all the warehouse jobs. So let's jump into a little info about the company. It's not financial advice.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is the chart real quick. They do have earnings coming up at the end of November, and they're up over this level. They sort of bounced here. So super favorable, higher low situation. That's why it's interesting right now. Now, about SYM, this is the company, Symbiotic. They are similar to another company, Serve Robotics. Serve is not doing quite as well recently, sort of gone sideways for most of the year. But that could change. A lot of companies didn't have great Q2 earnings, so that's not a surprise. But it would be, it would make sense if Serve turned up, that Sim would also turn up more as well. So those two companies do have a connection. And then as far as the big clients, you know, would it be great if they had some other clients as well? It would be. They do. I mean, they have Target. So the size of these clients are, the scope is very different, right? I mean, Walmart versus Uber Eats, DoorDash. So warehouse automation is very different than autonomous delivery. So basically, Serve has these little robots that, you know, they're kind of like R2D2 things that roll along a sidewalk and can deliver to your door. Sidewalk robots, that's what they call them, I guess. Whereas this is more of a B2B AI-powered robotics. These are big contracts. This is probably, most people agree, this is the biggest market, or at least the soonest market to get transformed by AI, to have a bunch of robots working in the warehouses, picking packages and making logistics easy. So as far as, you know, Serve, we're talking about this because this is the same theme. You can see how this is close. SOUN is kind of similar as well to SYM. So you want to keep an eye. This is voice enabled AI. So like ordering systems at Wendy's, some fast food restaurants have gone back and forth as to whether or not they want to have humans taking orders. You know, there's been some exploitation of that new technology. Obviously, it's fun for kids to mess around with or whatever, but SYM is warehouse automation. So this is probably the easiest to get robots in because you're dealing with businesses, right? We'll see what happens, but this investment from Walmart is significant. It was kind of a circular investment because they acquired their robotics unit. But it's definitely a very advanced. Walmart Labs is very advanced. I know it doesn't sound like Walmart would be, but it really, really is right up with Amazon as far as the technology. They're also working on battery technology for their mobile robots. So, if you have robots on the factory floor for hours and hours, it's great if you don't have a bunch of basically cords when they're crossing all over each other over the warehouse floor. So that's SIM. That's some of its similar theme companies, SERV, and then as well SOUN, SoundHound is that other one. These are some of the clients. These are massive. I mean, the grocery stores as well as Target and as well as Walmart. These are very established clients, the best clients you can have unless you're Nvidia and you have Meta and Amazon as your clients. They've also made some little acquisitions just for some computer vision. So basically allowing the robots to kind of act as like little autonomous cars, but you just don't have to worry about, there are safety concerns because you have people working in here as well, but less so than an actual vehicle. So this company should be able to progress with lesser regulation. This is the joint venture a couple years ago with SoftBank, which is the big venture firm. So we'll see what comes of it, but it does show that they are likely here to say, if they can make more acquisitions like this one that are maybe bigger than this one, maybe a little companies that are a little further along, they're trying to basically, grow those companies themselves and invest in them before they have to acquire them. So all makes sense. It's all green flags. And they also have this commercial agreement with another big food company. This is probably a grocer or maybe something like Cisco. So any big distribution center, SIM is basically at the center of it. And this is a big backlog. This is an Nvidia, or if not an Nvidia, sort of the companies that supply Nvidia, the CoreWeaves, the Applied Digitals, the data centers, the AI workflow, even the small semi companies type backlog. Even 5 billion is a big deal. This is from the Wall Street Journal. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if SIM continues to be the logistics leader, or if one of these there are a couple of private humanoid companies. I think about like Figure AI is one of them that could come out of the woodwork and take their customers. But as it stands, this is the publicly traded way to invest in warehouse automation. So we have to think that there's a reason that they have these big companies as clients. Now, as far as other backlog, that's another massive number. We'll see what comes of it. A backlog doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get paid that, but it means that they have demand. And then as far as, well, I don't know exactly if this is excellent, if this is not, but I do know that 25% year over year increase in revenue is a big deal. This is not, this is from let's see. Yeah, this is Q2 earnings right here. We can see the reaction wasn't great, but as we talked about Q2 earnings in the past week, I've been talking about it a lot, just because now we're in the middle of Q3 earnings season. If we look back at Q2 earnings season, there have been some companies like the Trade Desk, which I hate to pick on, but this was kind of one of the worst offenders of Q2 earnings. But even Netflix was down a lot. The consumer companies, Spotify didn't do great, even though it recovered. It was really only Meta and Reddit in Q2 earnings that held up. SoFi as well, sort of grinded up. But I don't know that Q3 earnings is going to be like that, even though we're much higher. Obviously, the market does go higher, but we're up now 40% from April lows. And so far, the main Mag 7 companies report in the middle of the week. Mag 7 just broke out, due in part to Apple coming back to all-time highs. But Apple reports on Thursday, Amazon on Thursday as well, bouncing off this moving average. And then Google, which has done well recently, breaking out, reports on Wednesday, and then Meta on Wednesday as well, which is still holding in there. So if all those go well, those are only going to help SIM. It's at a favorable level, and they're basically the leader in warehouse automation robotics. That could change. Amazon could acquire some private company, as I mentioned, that could change the game, and then Amazon will eat their lunch. But as it stands, SYM is a great stock idea, in my opinion. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe. And if you want to take part in the make $1,000 in 90 days in stocks or your money back guarantee, head over to stockscommunity.com and join the Discord. It's risk-free. You'll see some testimonials from some of our superstar stock. The results, you can read the results, have been solid. And, the market ebbs and flows. It goes in cycles, but it's still a bull market. This is not financial advice, but I hope this helps.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
All right, let's jump back to a little bit of Christine here. We got cooking here.
About which is the best, they both are the best. The answer is both. But you need to know what's going on, okay? So like if you are a tech investor, then you need to know QQQ might be the route to go, but QQQ could be going up or down based on what tech is doing that day. Oh, if you want the overall market, then you have the SPY that you can engage in, or SPX that you can engage in, and you'll get the culmination of the whole entire market, okay? Sometimes, like if tech is down, the SPY could still be up because the SPY isn't made up of all tech the way the QQQ is, okay? So know that understanding, okay? Both are tied to the entire market, but one has 500. So the SPY might have ExxonMobil, the SPY might have United Health, the SPY might have some of the companies that the QQQs don't have. And so if those companies are going crazy, the SPY can still go up on a day the QQQ is going down because the Qs only have tech stocks, okay? They only have like Nvidia, AMD, Broadcom, all the tech stuff. So if the tech is having a bad day, then you might want to trade the SPY that day if you're not going to buy puts, okay?
Seems like earnings season is going well.
Paper trading versus live trading. Which one is better? Okay. Listen, guys, I'm not going to ever be a deterrent for either. However, there's nothing that compares to live trading. But if you're just starting out, I'll rather you learn how to trade via paper trading. But here's a couple nuggets. If you are going to paper trade, that means you are using a simulation. Then that means you're using money that's not yours. Please don't try to paper trade with $1 million or 100K, and if you know your real account only got $1,500. Okay, you need to simulate the game with around about the dollars or the amount that you would actually trade with in order for paper trading to benefit you. Okay, Danny O, what's good, family? So when you paper trade, you want to simulate it with the amount that, so if you know, coach, I got $5,000. Okay, paper trade with at least $5,000 to $6,000. Don't paper trade with 500,000 because now you're not doing apples to apples comparison. You're doing something totally different, okay? But the other thing, I want you guys to use paper trading if you do, before you take the real trade, because I'm going to get on that in a minute. I want you to use paper trading to test your strategy. So if you watch me or you watch somebody else and they are doing something that you want to try, use paper trading to test it out. And I always say test it out for at least 3 days to 1 week. You ain't got to do a long time. You're going to either know if it feel right or not. And then the longest you want to do it is for 30 days before you jump ship and just be trying new things within 1 day, within 24 hours. No, stick with something. Use paper trading to test your strategy so that you can see if it works. You can see if it feels good for you and the whole nine, okay? But listen to this. I am an advocate of live trading. There's nothing like putting your real money on the line, even if it's one contract, and then seeing if you win or lose, because it's something about your hard-earned money that makes you tighten your game up. It's something about your hard-earned money that makes you take it serious and make you study a little bit harder, make you want to learn a chart, make you want to learn these patterns, make you want to do all these things, guys, so that you can ultimately perfect your craft. Okay, so I prefer live trading over paper trading, but I do believe paper trading is good to test your strategy. Let me know if that's understood. Next, making an impact on everyday people, man. I want to shout you guys out, especially those of you that's on a journey. If you have made $100, $50, $1,000, $10,000 or more, okay? Because not only are you demonstrating what's possible, you are showing others what's possible, and that impact cannot be understated, okay? That impact cannot be understated. What I want you guys to know is the impact you making. Every time I see stats come out and I think about the impact you guys are making on the world, on the finance space, I just sit back and just smile like, yep, the same gang, the Discord.
I like the passion for sure. If you have any comments, questions, go ahead and pop those in the YouTube. Otherwise, we'll jump into a little breakdown here. There's one stock that is about to skyrocket. They do have an investment from Tether, the stablecoin leader, the owner, provider of the USDC stablecoin, which is meant to track the US dollar to be a safe way to convert Bitcoin to dollars, to put it in a simple way that I understand it. This ticker is BTDR. So it was a Bitcoin miner. It still can mine Bitcoin. But like a lot of these Bitcoin miners, they're transitioning to AI data center service companies because the margin is much higher as a LLM farm rather than a Bitcoin miner. So BitDeer, BTDR is the ticker. Let's jump into a little bit about the company and why it looks positioned to be a buy right now. This is not financial advice.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
So this is BitDeer. They're not yet a pure AI provider. They're still doing mining. They're pivoting into the high performance computing infrastructure, AI, GPUs, data center conversion. But it still takes time. And my understanding is that they're still doing the Bitcoin mining right now. But this partnership with Nvidia is big. They don't have an investment from Nvidia. But with the Nvidia event happening today, I think BTDR is definitely in the conversation for stocks to buy right now for AI workloads, even though they have Bit in their name. And there's definitely been a lot of buying activity recently, just higher low after higher low. On a 5-year chart, well, they're getting up towards all-time highs again. Now, they haven't even been public for very long. It's only been a couple years. But if we look at this level right now, this is an important spot for BTDR. They do have to get over this earnings as well. It could be great. It might not be good. It doesn't totally impact, the structure we've already got going now, depending on how earnings comes out. But it's only recently that it's had this run. Of course, the market as a whole had a big run. If we look at some other sort of, Raya and Mara were the original Bitcoin miners, and they sort of ran and then came back in September. Everything ran in September, but Iron being maybe the biggest runner, it's been on an absolute tear. They have that Google connection. So I don't know necessarily if BitDeer is going to go the way of Iron. Not every company can basically close $1 billion offering. So we'll see what happens. But I do think there's already some buying, and this thing could go up even more. So those are the comparisons. Cipher is another one that ran in September, but these guys have to get through earnings as well. And this is not totally a penny stock anymore. It's a $25 stock. The liquidity, $70 million a day ish. It means you can put 100K in here without blinking, and more than that if you space it out over an hour or something like that. So this is BitDeer. They're in AI training as well. So if they can get some of that market from AWS, from CoreWeave, from Azure, this is a big target. I know it's not a gigawatt. Everyone's talking about gigawatts of nuclear to be deployed to power all these loads, but a megawatts is still a lot. So maybe they'll 5x this. Maybe this $2 billion of annualized revenue will increase even more. But as they pivot to AI, this is going to be really attractive to investors. It's very high margin. It's rumored that Nvidia might have 70 to 80% margins on their GPUs, and so all of that sort of gets passed down. It's a high margin vertical AI infrastructure. They got a nice little ML award, so it seems like the actual people who know what's going on, the developers, like them, which is super important because some of these decisions get made from the bottom up, as far as which HPC, high performance computing, which platform to go with. Like, why go with BitDeer over Cipher? There's like I just showed, there's a ton of former Bitcoin mining operations. So if they're actually positioning themselves as a product that works, then the people that are decision makers, the CTOs, will like that. So Alberta is possibly the province, the sector, the whatever you want to call it, the place of choice for a metadata center as well. I don't know if this site is going to be related to that, but I think they have some favorable regulation up there in that part of Canada that makes this power built out possible. So I think BitDeer operating there is bullish as well. And if you look at the Tether partnership, they do have Nvidia as like a collaborator. And then we'll see what happens. But this is interesting because Tether was also helped by the Genius Act. Crypto is becoming more regulated, and these companies want it to be more regulated because they want to conduct business on shore. So if BitDeer can be a beneficiary of that, sort of get some of those Genius Act tailwinds, it's possible, I'm really not implying this, but some of these Bitcoin miners turned AI infrastructure providers might get a bit of a government tailwind as well. I don't know what that'll be, if that'll be in less regulation, easier permitting, or if it'll be a stake, like the rare earths or the, Intel, the government took a stake in. We'll see. The Lithium America government took a stake in. I don't know if AI infrastructure, former Bitcoin miner, is a national security concern that for that reason the government will want to take a stake, but it's definitely good to have Tether on your side. USDC is like the stable coin. So the US dollar tracks stablecoin. Now, Nvidia has a lot of partners, okay, but if they are a preferred network and if they get Nvidia's GPUs before other people, or at least along with the other miners, that's definitely a green light. I wouldn't look too much into this. So, I mean, $500 million is a lot, but this is a partnership. So it could be interesting. I don't know exactly why this is happening in Bhutan rather than the US. I'm pretty sure that's India. Someone can fact check me on that. But yeah, it's, crypto is traditionally not US based, but the $100 million investment from Tether could change that. Now, as far as basically how Bitdeer is different than the other ones, that's sort of the question that pops into my mind. I mean, you could invest in any of these. Recently, they are mining more Bitcoin. That's great. They are pivoting like we talked about, and they have these sites being converted in Ohio for AI workloads for next year. Analyst price targets are solid. Analyst price targets are always solid, but they're not profitable. So there's that. And then, the Tether investment helps sort of the crypto. Crypto is actually looked at favorably right now in this administration. So I don't think that's a negative flag. But I think as they move more into AI, I think more analysts will be bullish on it as well. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But I don't think there's any recent news that really is a problem for them. The only question will be, what is it about Mara? What is it about Riot? What is it about Hut? Besides it being Canadian, typically that would not be a great sign in terms of at least government support. Although with this Alberta build out, if a AI company is co-located to the power source, that could be bullish for Hut. And we'll see. All I can really say, honestly, is look at the charts. Look at the charts for these companies, and they're going to sort of tell the story. And they kind of told the story, when they were Bitcoin miners, and I think they're going to tell the story as well. Mara's been pretty choppy. Riot's been, smoother. And then obviously we looked at Iron, but we already knew Iron was on fire in a good way. And BTDR definitely has a lot of buying activity. So we'll see what happens. This level is really relevant right now. There is an opportunity to buy before earnings. And if you get a cushion, then that's a prudent way to go about it. So that's the ticker. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe. And if you want to take advantage of StocksCommunity.com's make $1,000 in stocks in the first 90 days or your money back guarantee, head to StocksCommunity.com. You can go right there. You can hit that face of mine and give it a whirl. It's my guarantee to you, and you'll see some testimonials from people who have been using these ideas and doing well with them. I give the best idea that I can come up with on a particular day. Some of these videos might come out a little late, and there's a lot of ideas, I know. It's not financial advice, but I hope this all helps you.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.